Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fadeaway Podcast. I'm here once again with Hisham. How you doing, bud?
Oh man, what a week we've had of NBA playoffs, Ben. I'm ready to be excited to be back and ready to get right into it.
Hey, man, some crazy games this week.
Oof. I think it'd be nice if we start off with the East and then maybe we can get to the West later. So maybe we can tackle the 76ers Hawks series. We've just had Game 3 finish last night. Oh man, I mean, do you want to kick us off with this one?
I mean, I'm gonna say it's a much better series than I expected it to be. I thought with Embiid playing, the Hawks just wouldn't stand a chance. I thought the 76ers would honestly wipe the floor with them. But even despite how well they've been defending Trae Young, that the role players, Bogdanovich, Gallinari, Herter, have just been really stepping up and actually keeping them in. And even though they lost this one, they've been playing close in these games. And despite the supposed Joel Embiid injury, which seems to not really be hindering them too much, he's still really putting this team on his back. And
no, I'm just glad that we're not med students, because I mean I think we had no idea what this was going to do.
Absolutely not.
What is a torn? I mean, how can you have a torn meniscus and be averaging like 35 in this series? I mean, someone needs to explain.
I mean, isn't this the same injury? I'm pretty sure James Wiseman ended his season. So I guess it's the difference between a partially torn and fully torn meniscus. I think Zion had the same thing, where I guess if you don't get the full tear, you're able to play like a top 3 MVP candidate, no problem.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's 7'2" and he's just bouncing around on his knees as if there's no injury. He had, I mean, what did he have last night? 27, 9, and 8 assists when they were sending the double team. I mean, what are you gonna do to stop? Game. I mean, it's just like you have Capella there to sort of be a big body, and Capella is not a small guy by any means, but he's just getting absolutely bullied inside. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then when you sort of back off a little bit, he's hitting the fadeaways, he's hitting the three. It's kind of insane to watch. Harris helped out a lot last night. I think he had 22, 8, and 5.
Yeah. Creating his own shot.
Creating his own shot. I mean, I'm happy with, to be honest, I was big on Atlanta early on. I'm happy that they got game 1. I think, of course, the series is not even close to over with the kind of offensive talent that the Hawks have. But I feel like they need to find a way to win game 4. Otherwise, this is going to be, it's going to be quick.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things that the Sixers figured out is how to contain Trae Young. And we say that despite him scoring, 28 points in the last game. Yeah. But that was not, despite what the numbers say, that was not a great game from Trae Young. They putting Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle on him, and just going over every screen and not getting within 2 feet of him so he can't just back up and get free throws. He still gets those calls, and that last game was tough to watch with how many whistles there were. Pretty much every possession there were fouls. And usually in those kind of games, the Hawks win. Like that's what they want to do, is get fouls, get to the free throw line and hit a bunch of free throws. But they were defending him so much better than the first few games. And I think that's going to be the key. If they can continue doing that and then still get Ben Simmons like contributions on the offensive end, like actually being aggressive and going to the hoop and hitting his free throws, I don't think the Hawks have a chance if they can continue playing against the Sixers like this.
Yeah, no, I think for me, the crazy thing is, okay, you had Danny Green on him. Danny Green is no scrub. I mean, I know he's not Danny Green of the past, but I mean, he's still, even last year, I mean, he was still a solid defender in the playoffs. You put him on one of your better players, if not the best player, right? And so they tried that in game 1, and Trae Young absolutely torched him, right?
Yeah.
And then they figured out, okay, we have 2 pretty much like all NBA caliber type defenders on our team, with Simmons and Thybulle like on ball defenders, right?
Yeah.
So these are like 6'8", 6'10" kind of guys. I mean, Trae Young is like barely 6 foot. So like I
He's going
mean, for
against
him
people
to,
who's got the wingspan the
oh
size
god,
of
yeah.
him.
And they're
It's hard.
fighting through the screens, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's he's still getting his shots, but like he was 9 for 17 or something like that last night. That's not bad.
No.
But Trae Young should be putting up like 25 shots a game. Like, let's be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
he should have the ball every possession, and they're either doubling him or they're sending these big defenders, and it's just making it so much harder for him to create the offense like he was in game one. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I hope the Hawks figure something out. They weren't great last night. I hope they can figure something out. I'm just not sure what it is, to be honest. I mean, they lost Hunter now for the season. The injury update on DeAndre Hunter. He's a great 3-and-D guy. He would have been another good body to play in the playoffs. It's a bit of a sad one to have him out for the season, but hopefully he comes back next year stronger. But I think for now, I think Hawks game 4 is a must win. It's a must win at home.
Yeah.
I think the funny thing from last night was, I don't know if you saw this, but like Trae Young, he didn't a foul was called on Embiid when like somebody stripped the ball from him. And it was relatively clean, and Trae Young was doing like the goggle eyes
And he got the tech.
referees.
Yeah.
He got the T. It was hilarious. Oh
I mean,
man,
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
He's just getting frustrated because their whole game plan, the whole 76ers game plan is to stop him. And to be honest, while the Hawks have good role players, they don't have too many players that can really make their own shot quite like Trae Young. They can't break down a defense. Like Bogdanovich is good. I mean, Capella can get boards. Collins can kind of run to the hoop, but no one who can really kind of break down a defense and get open shots for other players. That's Trae Young's job, and no one else can really do it as well as he does. But when you have Thibault or Ben Simmons on you pretty much the entire game, and you're just getting pretty much smothered, like it's tough. You're forced to go down low against Joel Embiid or Dwight Howard, and even if you maybe do get that layup and get fouled, that takes a toll on you. Like that is hard to play for a full game like that. It's just physically exhausting. So
I think
it's going to be tough.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that Embiid has just been so crazily dominant. Like there's only so much we can say to describe this now, because like the Hawks, I mean, you look at last night, who are your two probably your best players on the floor? Collins and Trae Young. Maybe Bogdanovich in there. And Trae Young goes for 28 and 8. Collins goes for 23 and 7 on relatively efficient shooting. Yeah. And you're not really that close in the ball game. I mean,
no.
And I think the issue was, at least in game 2, up until Shake Milton just went crazy in the third quarter. The Hawks were close. The bench was producing. Embiid did his thing, but as long as you sort of keep everyone else in check, you can stay in the ball game. But in this one, it was like Harris was getting his, Simmons was getting his, Seth was getting his. It was just
the bench showed up. They weren't showing up in the first few games, and if that 76ers bench shows up, which we know they can, and they have pretty much this whole season, if they do, then the Hawks can't win. It's pretty much what it comes down to. And yeah, I think the Hawks maybe win one more game. I don't see them taking this series, especially if Embiid is fine. Apparently, if he can keep playing, if he keeps doing what he's doing, and he's not even playing as good as we've seen him play before. Like, he's clearly somewhat affected by this injury, but obviously not to the point that it's really hindering him. So yeah, I think the Hawks take this the Sixers take this in probably 6. I don't.
Yeah, I was thinking Sixers in 6. I think it could be Sixers in 5 if the Hawks don't get game 4. Because I just don't see them going back to Philly. Yeah, I don't see them going back to Philly and getting another one.
But hey, it's a young team. They weren't expected to go this far anyway. I think there's bright things in the future for them. Get Hunter back. Herter's getting good experience. Collins, a bunch of good young players, and all they need is a few veterans kind of on that team. And I think they're poised to make a few runs for the next few years. So they're in a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. Bright future for the Hawks ahead, even if this season doesn't go any further than it already has. So. All right, with that, let's move on to the next series in the East. The Bucks and the Nets. Oh
I
man,
feel like a fool for thinking that this was going to be the series of the playoffs.
oh man.
I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking that maybe Coach Bud would actually, I don't know, coach and do something. But yeah, it could have been a good, and it still could be a good series if they actually change a few things. But that last game was just disgusting. It was hard to watch. Like two of the best offenses in this league for this whole season wind up scoring under 90 points in a playoff game where your best players are playing nearly the full game. No one could buy a bucket outside of the Milwaukee in like the first, I don't know, 5 minutes when they were destroying Brooklyn, and then all of a sudden could not buy a shot until the end of the game.
I mean, I was thinking, has there ever been a series that basically everyone is so hyped up for, and then you get a game like game 3, and it's just like KD shoots 39%, which, I mean, for a normal player might be okay, but like Kevin Durant does not shoot 39%.
It was a bad Kevin Durant
Joe,
game.
bad Kevin Durant game. Holiday up until like basically like the game winner didn't do anything.
Haunted by the ghost of Eric Bledsoe.
Oh god. And Brook Lopez. Oh god. I mean,
what happened to 3-point specialist Brook Lopez? Every time he shot the ball, I assumed every shot he took was going to miss, and they were just all clankers, nothing even close. It was, I don't know, the whole offense just absolutely fell apart. Like Middleton was the only one who could buy a shot, and even then, the shots you were getting were ugly. Like they were not good open shots. I mean, there were people getting open shots, and they were just missing them. Like Giannis with his like 9 threes that I don't know why he's still allowed to take those. I don't know if it's a coaching thing or a confidence thing. He's just too confident in being able to take it, or the fact that he can't hit free throws, so he's scared to go to the rim.
But Ben, he's shooting 12% in the playoffs. 12.5%. Why is he taking
unacceptable
these shots?
for a star player, an MVP player cannot play like this in the playoffs.
But you know what's insane is you look at his averages, right? He's still averaging 26, 14, and 6 in the playoffs. But I mean, it doesn't look impactful at all. Like it's just like, what is going on? Why is he shooting 8, 9 threes a game? Like, and you're making one. Like, what is going on here? I just don't understand the process. Why is he bringing the ball up? He's not LeBron. Put him in the pick and roll as the roll guy and figure something out.
And they did that during this game. There were like, I don't know, maybe 5 possessions. I don't know. Where they did the Middleton, Giannis pick and roll, and it worked pretty much every time. And did they ever do it again? No. I don't know. I don't know what goes through your mind as a coach, as a player, when you have something that works and then you just stop doing it. They cannot stop that play. That should be the play they run every time down the floor. It is unguardable, and they just refuse to do it. I don't know. I honestly, the Bucks, if they don't win it, they're not going to win this series. I don't think. I don't see them winning this series, no less a title. But Coach Bud has to be gone, right? Like I don't see him staying there.
There's just not enough adjustments being made. I mean, and this is
there's nothing. No adjustments are being made. He played Giannis 5 more minutes, so good. That's one step. But beyond that, I don't see what coaching he's doing. Did you hear the clip where they mic'd him up and he said, "Be random"? That was his coaching. Be random, not calling a play, just saying be random. Basically, just came down to a Drew Holiday, Giannis, or Chris Middleton ISO for 10 seconds, and then a bad contested shot, and hope you get an offensive rebound. And there was no offense there whatsoever.
But what part do you think that Giannis can be the best player on a championship team?
I think he can with the right coaching. I think if he has a coach who says, "Look, man, you can't shoot threes. Stop doing it." He's just got to get the reality check and learn to shoot free throw. I mean, Ben Simmons is hitting free throws at like 50%. Good enough. You just can't be shooting like 12% from the line. You have to at least be a threat to maybe make those free throws, that they don't just hack you every single time you get close to the rim. Like, if he has a coach that actually utilizes him well, because he's not a LeBron type. He's not going to be LeBron. He's a rim runner who can get to the basket on 2 dribbles from the half court. Like, use him for what he's good at. Like, he's not going to be James Harden ISO step back hitting threes. He's not going to be hitting wide open threes either. So don't let him shoot.
No, you're right. I think they're making him do too much, and he's doing what he's not really good at. But I do have to give two shout outs here for the Bucks in this game. One is Chris Middleton. I think, we've all been pretty hard on him. He wasn't showing up the first 2 games. Hadn't really been showing up last year in the playoffs. 35 and 15, pretty efficient this game. He was probably the only one who had it going.
He's the reason they won. Without him having this game, they don't win.
Yeah, and I think if they want a chance in this series, he's got to be really good again next game. Holiday's got to be better, obviously. But Middleton, I was really pleasantly surprised. He showed up. He answered the critics. I really hope that he continues this, because when he gets going, he's a great offensive player. He's a good two-way player as well. Yeah. So I really hope he continues this. And secondly is PJ Tucker. Oh, man, I love myself some PJ Tucker. He shot the ball 3 times in like 30-something minutes. He had 0 points, and he was the highest plus minus.
He's a guy who knows his role. He's what you want on your team. But I feel bad that he's got to guard Kevin Durant pretty much the whole game. That is a tough matchup. He's getting pushed by security guards. He's getting swiped through fouls on Kevin Durant every other possession. It's a tough thing to do. I understand why he's getting frustrated, and it's a tough role he's got. But yeah, he's doing the job the best he can.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying you had a couple of Nets that you thought were pretty impressive so far. You want to touch on those guys?
Blake Griffin is surprising me. Like, we knew he was playing better than he previously did on the Pistons, and he's really embraced this like role player where he's guarding Giannis like almost as good as anyone else we've seen kind of guarding him, especially in this playoffs. Like, he's making Giannis take tough shots. He's fouling him, knowing that he's not going to make them, and he's taking wide open threes. Not making them, unfortunately, this last game, but he's playing within his role, kind of like the PJ Tucker type, but not exactly, but still being able to like contribute to the team and help out offensively and play just solid defense for a team that wasn't really defending well during the regular season. He's really helped kind of this Nets defense out, and not making them not have to play DeAndre Jordan, I think is another big plus. But yeah, I think this game was an anomaly for the Nets. Like, if I'm the Nets, I'm not worried. You just think there's no way you shoot this poorly for 3 more games in a row. Like, I'm not worried too much. You just have to tell Bruce Brown to not take so many shots.
Yeah, no, I think the Blake Griffin resurgence tour is absolutely hilarious. I mean, he couldn't jump in Detroit. He's coming here and he's putting Giannis on posters. I mean, it's hilarious. Like,
it's vintage.
It's vintage. He's giving it everything. But it's nice to see. It's funny because they're like, oh, Blake was washed. Blake is old. Whatever. Blake's only 32. He's like Kevin Durant's age.
He's not old.
It's good. It's good to see him. I guess playing well. The only sad thing is it's once again that James Harden kind of situation. Like, you play bad, you force yourself out of a bad place, and you get to a good team, and now you're like revived.
I don't like that narrative too much, because he carried that Pistons team when he was hurt. What was it, like 3 years ago, to the playoffs? Like, he played hard for that team. He did not really coast until he was actually hurt, and especially when that Pistons team wasn't going anywhere. I mean, yeah, it's tough. Like, because the bad teams, like, you get a good player, you want them to carry you all the way to playoffs, and sure they can, but they know, everyone knows you're not winning anything there. So it's a tough situation, but I'm happy for Blake. And my favorite part of like kind of the mic'd up segments of these games is being able to hear him. And they're down like 29 in the first quarter or whatever it was, and you hear him on, he's like, we're fine. It's whatever. Like, we're shooting this poorly. We're only down by 30. I've never heard anyone say we're only down 30 points as if it's not a big deal. And they did, to their credit, they came back. Like, I never really knew, and I guess I didn't expect him to have this kind of like positive attitude. I guess as he's gotten older and really wants to win that ring, being just like a good kind of positive presence is something you really need on a team like this, where it's at first glance just a bunch of superstars kind of thrown together. But remember, this Brooklyn Nets team was not this level, but really good last year. Like they were a cohesive unit, and yeah, I think they'll be all right. They just can't let Bruce Brown take game-winning shots. Let him play within his role. And while that Kevin Durant, Bruce Brown pick and roll worked to get them back in the game, after he missed like the next 5, I tell him to stop taking that shot. He's not going to shoot it over Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez remembered he's about a foot taller than Bruce Brown and can just contest those shots. So I need to see more aggressiveness out of like Kyrie to pass up the game-winning shot. Like, I don't know what was with him. He didn't have a great game. No one had a great game on the Nets, really. It was tough.
No, I think you're right. Bruce Brown had a great impact. Obviously, he's great defensively. He was great in that like pick and roll as the roll man as well. Yeah. He gets into the middle. He's great with the floaters. But I think, you're right. He got hot. He got them back in the game. And then it was like, I'm the guy now because I'm feeling it. And then he just started taking too many of the same shot and just stopped going in. I think the last play was a bit messed up anyway. Like the inbound pass was not great. And then it was kind of just like a combined, like it was just not great. I'm sure they'll fix these kind of, they'll make some tweaks in practice and stuff. But I think there's no way they're this bad offensively. The Bucks, no. I mean, oh god, the Bucks are shooting. They shot 19% from 3 in this last game. It was just a horrible shooting game from everyone, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it was literally the only good part of that game was maybe the last like 3 minutes, where it was just Middleton and KD trading mid-range jumpers back and forth, and every shot I'm like, no way that's going in. And it just kept dropping. It felt like all-star game kind of atmosphere. Remember when like 2 guys are just going at it and they're just keep saying he's going to miss it first, and KD just keeps reminding me and everyone that he's one of the best players in the league. He's unreal. He's one of the best scorers probably of all time. Is just unstoppable. You can't guard a guy who can be 7 foot and then stop on a dime and pull up for a jumper.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, I think if I had to create like the perfect defender for KD, it would probably be Giannis, and Giannis can't really slow him down. So it's kind of crazy. A defensive player of the year and all that, and like you can't really. You're basically as tall as him. You're muscular, everything. You're quick on your feet, and you can't really do much against him. It's crazy. And I think now there's a lot of PJ Tucker on him. PJ Tucker is a great defender, don't get me wrong, but it's just like
a foot shorter.
Yeah, that's the issue, right? So let's see. I think game 4 again, it's like the Hawks, right? I mean, game 4 is huge for Milwaukee. If they can pull another one out at home, that crowd was amazing.
The crowd was going crazy. But the funny thing is, I think they knew, and everyone else watching knew, that Nets team was not going to get just absolutely demolished like the Bucks were. They were not going to go down quietly. They could go down 50 points in the first quarter, and they still have the firepower to come back. And every cheer they had had a little bit of kind of like, I don't know, hesitancy in it. They're like, yeah, we're doing well, but we may not soon. And those cheers quickly faded away for about 3 quarters until it was close and near the end of the game, and Middleton pretty much sealed it for them. I think the Bucks fans know, and everyone knows, that this Nets team is dangerous offensively and could score 120, 30 points on any given night. So I think the Nets take the next 2. I don't see them losing. I don't see them shooting this poorly any other games.
Yeah.
And as long as they just kind of figure some things out, especially if Harden ever comes back, that's the craziest thing. This is without Harden. If he ever comes back, they're just steamrolling through.
Yeah. No, I think, and we forgot to mention, I mean, Joe Harris was 1 for 11 in this game.
Yeah, he can't do that. He missed a game winner too.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening again. That was just anomaly shooting night. This guy's been just absolutely cash from the field.
Unreal.
I don't see it happening again. It's one of those nights you just chalk it up to bad luck.
Yeah. So Nets in 5, I guess, huh?
I see it. I really don't see the Bucks unless Coach Bud gets hit on the head by like a rock sometime today and remembers or actually learns how to coach well, then maybe. But I don't see it.
All right, with that, let's move on to the West Coast series.
Yeah.
So we've got the Suns Nuggets. Oh man.
This turned into something that I didn't expect.
Oh man, I saw this one coming, man. Suns.
They're for
My
real.
Phoenix Suns.
I'll admit, I thought it was just. I mean, we can admit the Lakers were bad, and I thought that was what made the Suns really look that good. I mean, we know the Nuggets are good, but we know they're good, but they're still missing pieces, obviously. And a good team missing pieces is enough to beat other okay teams, good teams, but not great teams. Great teams are going to exploit weaknesses that you have, and the Nuggets certainly have those.
Yeah, I think I don't want to take anything away from the Suns because they've been outstanding. But yeah, firstly, it's just I feel bad for Jokic. I mean, I don't know what else to say. He had 32, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists.
He's doing all he can.
Or 12 assists. I mean, what even are those numbers? They interviewed DeAndre Ayton after the game. He was like, did he really have those numbers? That's MVP numbers. Like, I mean,
he's just so good.
What else is he supposed to do? It's not fair. Like, I really feel bad for him because he's had a career year. Porter's injured, kind of. Like, he's got some back issue.
As well as he had.
Yeah, he's not looking as he should. And then even when, like, I feel like as much as, I love Michael Porter Jr., but it feels like the shots he takes are like really contested threes, and he makes them. But I mean, they're really contested threes, or he becomes like a spot up shooter. Like he does some like JJ Redick stuff where he like comes around the screens and like takes fadeaway threes. Like, I mean, you're 6'10", you've got somewhat of a handle. Like, do some ISO scoring. Like, do something.
Got to be
that's
the
not
injury, right? I think it has
to
be. There has to be something holding him back because he's not a spot up shooter. He's more than that.
Yeah.
And we've seen that, but he's not playing like it. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough. And I mean, they got good games from Monte Morris and Will Barton back. You thought would be a big impact, and it did. I mean, the game was competitive. Like they weren't blown out really until kind of the end. Like you thought there was a chance at certain points in the game, but there's just not enough. You don't have Jamal Murray's like 30 points a game in these playoffs to really kind of help carry the load on offense. Like, Monte Morris being your second highest scorer is not going to win you playoff games, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and on the Suns side of things, wow, do they look good? I mean, they're just. It looks like they've got it all figured out. They've got the leadership guy in Chris Paul, who basically tells everyone what to do. You've got Devin Booker, who's the star, or the scoring star at least. And then you've got Aiden inside, who's just been really, really good, like basically double-doubles in every game. He had 10 and 15 or something. I mean, he knows his role. He's not there to score 25 points a game, right? And then you've got the shooters, like Bridges, Crowder, it's just Cameron Payne off the bench. Like, it's just Cam Johnson. They just keep coming, and you thought that, okay, these role guys, maybe, in the playoffs, the pressure's on, they might not be as good, and they've just continued. And the balance of the team is just so stellar and so good to watch. I don't know what the ceiling is for the Suns, but I told you yesterday on our call that, look, I think this could be a sweep. And I'm going to stick with that because the Suns are just looking so good. Chris Paul, the shoulder injury. Where's the shoulder injury? He looks great to me now.
This Suns team, I think, pretty much goes where Chris Paul goes. I think if Chris Paul plays well and doesn't get hurt, this team could go really far. Because, I mean, it's been like what every Chris Paul playoff team for history has been good up until Chris Paul. Like
Yeah.
the playoff teams he's on that they don't win and they've never won the finals is either he gets hurt or just kind of chokes. And yeah, I think if he's playing the way he does, this team could make a real shot at the finals and possibly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think like what's different, obviously with Houston, he had the big injury in game 6 and that changed everything with what could have been. But even when he was with the Clippers, I know it was like, the big three and Blake was prime Blake and DeAndre Jordan was great. But it wasn't someone who could get you a bucket. Like in Houston, he had James Harden get you a bucket, right? Now he's got Devin Booker. If he doesn't have it going, you got Devin Booker who can get you a bucket at any point,
Yeah.
And I think it's just they've got some great chemistry. Like I want to give a big shout out to the coach. Oh man, I mean, he has done great stuff there in Phoenix. He was a candidate for Coach of the Year. So I don't know. It's just it's been great to see Monty Williams. I think if there was a playoffs coach of the year, it should be Monty Williams. He's been outstanding. I'm really really impressed with the Suns. I mean, I think we were talking about it the other day that it's really similar to the way that the Jazz are kind of. You got
a well-coached team with everyone kind of knowing their role and everyone able to kind of contribute. I mean, they didn't really get like the bench has been like outplaying every other bench that they go up against, and these aren't guys who you think are like crazy. Like Dario Saric has been dropped from like a starter to like a 8th man, and he's actually contributing on a possible Western Conference Finals team. Like that's not something I think anyone would have expected to say a few years ago, but I think that just comes down to a coaching thing of like getting those role players to really kind of like play to their potential and have them pretty much play within themselves and know what they need to do to help their team win. And that's
Yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah, and I think that even guys like, how we always talk about you've got those like glue guys, you've got those guys with the veteran experience. Like I think guys like Jay Crowder, he just went to the finals last year. Great defender, good 3-point shooter, and he's someone who's been there. He's guarded the toughest guys. He's been at the big moments with the Celtics and with the Heat. So for him to come into this team after Chris Paul signed, he reached out to Crowder to get him there. And now look at them, right? They're doing great. So
it's crazy. And I think the best thing for Jay Crowder is that he's not counted on to hit a lot of threes because every other Jay Crowder team I've seen leads to Jay Crowder thinking he is Steph Curry and shooting threes after threes and maybe having a few games where he goes like 1 for 8 and they lose the game because of those missed shots. The Celtics, I know you remember those Celtics games where you would be terrified of him making a 3 or 2 to start the game because he's not going to stop shooting them. He's just going to keep taking them and keep bricking them. But it just seems like a changed Jay Crowder. Like he is playing so much better offensively, like taking open threes, and when he's missing them, not shooting them anymore. Like knowing that he has other people on the team that carry this offense and he can just kind of crash boards and play good defense. I don't know what changed. I haven't seen this Jay Crowder in a while, but this is the Jay Crowder that like a playoff team needs.
Yeah, agreed. And I think one of the big things with that is like looking back at those Celtic teams, right? Like who was the leader? There was no leader. It was like Isaiah Thomas is the best player. He's, whatever. Like Tatum was coming, like up and coming. Like he can't be a leader at that point, right? Now Jay Crowder has Chris Paul to sort of listen to, Monty Williams to listen to, guys that he respects, right? So it's like, I think with that, he knows his role. He knows he's going to do a lot still. It's not like he's doing nothing, but he knows his role and he's sticking to it, and the Suns are just looking like a well-oiled machine. So
it'll be interesting.
Let's see.
I think it'll probably be a sweep, but I'll always give the gentleman's sweep prediction just as like there could be a cold shooting night. We haven't really seen the Suns they had maybe one cold shooting night versus the Lakers, but they haven't had a night where they're just all missing shots. Yeah, so I think maybe Nuggets get one, but this last game was probably as good as I think they could really play. I think that's their ceiling, at least without Jamal Murray and with Michael Porter still somewhat hurt. So yeah, it'd be tough to see. It'll probably be a sweep, but I don't know. I feel bad for Jokic, man. He's playing so well.
Yeah, man, I'm bringing the brooms out for this one. I think it's over. It's over and done. Chris Paul's gonna end this. Booker's gonna go off in Game 4. They're gonna end it in Denver. Gonna get some nice rest before their Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see how this goes, but let's see who they might play though in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. The Clippers, Jazz.
Man, the Clippers just love losing the first 2 games of the series, don't they? Like, I don't know if this is just in their game plan or what, but playoff P has been he's been back to what we expect, and I don't get how for maybe a week he could be like a top 5 player in the league, and then the next looks like no more than like a bench role player. I don't understand how a player can be so inconsistent, but at their peak be so good. Because if he's playing at his peak, I think this Clippers team is almost unstoppable. But he's just not. And it's such an anomaly to me. I don't get it. And not to take away from how well the Jazz are playing, but having no Mike Conley, I think is pretty huge for this team. Apparently not, but maybe going forward will have more of an impact. But yeah, it's crazy to me that he's getting completely outplayed by. I mean, Mitchell's outplaying both him and Kawhi, and he's not supposed to, but he just is.
I mean, for me, it's like you see Paul George, right? 2 years ago, or the last year in OKC, he was 3rd in MVP voting.
Yeah, this is a guy who's gotten multiple MVP votes in this past decade. Like,
I mean, he's got the silky smooth jumper. He's known as a great defender, one of the best 2-way players in the NBA, right? Like this whole shebang.
He's a guy who
and then we get
LeBron to Game 7s, and now he's losing to the Jazz. Like,
yeah, where's the Pacers, Paul George? Like, I feel like it's more mental. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I will see him like pulling up for threes, and you just know it's not going in. It's not even like you're scared of him taking these shots anymore. It's ridiculous. And he's like one of the best players in the NBA. Like, what is going on? And like, I feel like Donovan Mitchell is just making him look silly on defense. It's not even absurd. Close. I mean, he's outplaying, like you said, both Kawhi and Paul George by a mile. I mean, Kawhi Leonard.
He's the best player on the floor. He should not be. Like, Kawhi Leonard, we know, can be the best player in the league at times, and he's getting outplayed by Donovan Mitchell and sometimes like Jordan Clarkson. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, these are star players who are not playing as good as they should.
Look, man, I think Kawhi Leonard. I don't know what it is. I mean, we saw this in Dallas, right? Like, okay, the first 2 games, they lose the 2 games at home. Kawhi is good. You know, he's good. He's not great. And then he's like, oh, whoops, we're down 2-0. Time to become like finals MVP Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. And then he goes off like ridiculous shooting number, 70% from the field. And, stuff we've basically never seen since Jordan. And then he starts like this. He had like 21 in Game 2, like 20 in Game 1. Yeah. I mean, what is that? 20 points? Donovan Mitchell had 45 in Game 1. 37 in Game 2, and
on over 50% from the field. He's shooting efficiently too. It's not like he's just chucking, and he's shooting like within the offense. He's not just isoing. Like, he's getting good shots, good looks, and
I mean, for the playoffs, he's averaging 33 points, 5 rebounds, and 42% from 3. I mean, I don't know what more you can really ask. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is just is he a budding superstar?
Every playoffs, I pretty much want to say that. And then the next season comes around and he's back to averaging like, I don't know, mid-20s a game. Like, he seems we say there's there's regular season players, right? Like people who are really good in the regular season and then just disappear in the playoffs. And Donovan Mitchell is the complete opposite. He plays usually he'll be the best player on his team, but sometimes it's arguable with like Rudy Gobert or someone else. And the team gets a good seed, they play well, but he's averaging like decent numbers. And then come the playoffs, and he averages like 6, 7, 8 more points a game on much better shooting, and he just becomes a completely different player. I don't get it. Maybe he's just saving him, doing the LeBron technique, saving himself for the playoffs. But he's young enough that he shouldn't have to. So I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm not complaining if I'm the Jazz, but it's just a weird phenomenon. This is like 3 years in a row, the same thing basically.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think maybe I'm not sure what it is, but Donovan Mitchell, I mean, it's insane the kind of shots he's making, the kind of shots he's taking.
The confidence is
He's
off the
the
charts.
confidence, the jumper, the three. I mean, he's driving to the rim. I don't know if you saw that clip of, can't remember which game it was, but he had Dwayne Wade on the sideline, sort of telling him some stuff. Oh man, I mean, it's so nice to see, like, and his game reminds me of D Wade a lot as well, like the finishing, the way he runs to the rim. Obviously, his jumper is a lot better from three and stuff, but no, Donovan Mitchell has absolutely exploded. But I do want to. What I remember from game one, my big takeaway was they only won by 3 points, right? And everyone was saying, "Oh, the Clippers, they're not going to shoot this poorly," and the Jazz only won by 3, and Mitchell had 45, right? But the difference to me was the supporting cast was horrible in game one, absolutely horrible, and they're never like that. So game two, they show up, they shoot basically 50% from 3. Bogdanovich is making Kawhi Leonard basically not great, which is as good as Bogdanovich was looking like the best defensive player in the world.
Bogdanovich and Ingles have been defensive lockdowns. It's incredible.
And it's crazy. Like Ingles, I mean, okay, like you said, there's no Mike Conley, who's basically your primary ball handler, even if Mitchell is playing, right? So without that, you've got Ingles and Mitchell sharing the ball handling responsibilities. Ingles is great. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, he's great from 3. He doesn't take dumb shots. He's good passer. He's safe with the ball. And Bogdanovich was great last game. Bogdanovich was, cash from downtown. He was just great defensively, which I don't think I've really ever seen him in those kind of situations. Basically holding Kawhi Leonard to what you would want to hold him to. And shout out to 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson.
It's crazy. He is pretty much like their bench is good, but they scored 0 bench points outside of Jordan Clarkson last game. He was their entire, and 24 bench points is not bad considering it comes from one person. He is just every coach's dream of if your offense is like slowing down a bit, to know you have a guy that you can just kind of take in off the bench and good for a few quick, easy buckets to kind of get you started is insane. And we've never seen this from him. Like last year he was good, but like on Cleveland, the Lakers, this was not a Jordan Clarkson we saw before. Maybe is just getting put in that 6-man role and not having to worry about anything else besides go in there and score. That's pretty much what he's made for. And it's great that he's found his role, and shout out to Coach Snyder for figuring that out and getting him to buy in, because that's one of the things we talk about is like these teams is good coaching that kind of helps every role player kind of buy in and make these players better than what other people think they are.
Yeah, no, 2 things on what you said. One is Coach Snyder, I think pretty underrated coach. The Jazz are pretty good every year, I would say. And this year I think they've taken a leap. Jordan Clarkson, I mean, he looks like prime Lou Williams or Jamal Crawford out there. Like he's literally, his job is to come in, chuck up like shots and just put points on the board. I mean, and he's doing it efficiently. I mean, he's doing it efficiently. I mean, he shoots a lot of shots, but they're not bad shots. He's taking good threes. He just looks really good out there. I mean, I remember the Jazz had a huge lead in game 2, and the Clippers cut it down. They went to the zone, maybe something we can touch on a bit later, but they went to the zone. Mitchell was slowed down. He only had like 8-9 points in the second half. and Clarkson just came in and broke it down. Like he just
Yeah.
found ways to get buckets. And it's just so nice to see, especially with the, how everything ended in LA and all that, to see him sort of revive his career and make a name for himself. And now sixth man of the year, of course, right? But one other guy we want to touch on, Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year, living up to his name.
Really just being a big man in the middle is what he does, and not be beyond just kind of chasing blocks and getting boards. He's actually able to kind of stop some of these drives from like Kawhi and Paul George, and make it difficult for them and make them settle for jumpers. So when the jumper isn't hitting, they can't just go in and get some layups for points. Yeah. And every team loves to have that kind of guy, and it helps not only him, but it helps every other player able to play super aggressively on defense. So, I mean, we see like Bogdanovich and Ingles playing well, but they can play that aggressive defense knowing that if they get blown by, you've got the stifled tower right behind you to just kind of have your back, and that helps the whole defense, which is, it's always good. It's always what you want.
No,
your team in the playoffs.
Definitely. I think 3 times defensive player in the last 4 years. I mean, it's not a joke, right? I mean, this is a pretty big feat by Rudy Gobert. And the crazy thing for me is, we always hear, oh yeah, he's good, but like maybe not in the playoffs. Like you can't play him in the playoffs. I mean, the Clippers are playing 5 small essentially. Like Zubac is in the game and then he gets destroyed defensively, so they take him out.
Like 10, 12 minutes a game. He can't.
Exactly. They bring in Morris at the 5, and Gobert is guarding him. You remember in game 1, at the end of the game, he blocks Morris's shot to win it, right? Basically. And he's just been great defensively. He's showing a lot of energy. It was so funny. I don't know if you saw this, the post-game interview after game 2. And they're just asking him, like, wow, like, you guys shot the 3 lights out. And he was like, yeah, everyone shoots except me. And he was just like, he knows his role. He knows he's supposed to be down there in the middle. And I know people laugh a lot about like, oh, the screen assist, and Jazz fans love the screen assist. He has the most screen assists in the league, but he set some good screens, man. Like people are getting Mitchell's open looks are because of how hard his screens are.
Really good screens, and he had 20 boards last game. Like he's just out rebounding everybody, and second chance points are huge in the playoffs because like every possession means so much. So being able to kind of get that soft reset on the shot clock and get another usually open shot, because when you get an offensive rebound, usually either someone's leaking out for transition offense or they're collapsing on the board, and you have one of 4 other people, someone's probably wide open and they can all shoot. So it's just an easy kick out pass for another 3, or just go back up and get an easy 2 because there's no one there to stop him at the rim.
Yeah. I just want to touch on really quick on the Clippers side of things. Reggie Jackson. Oh, mama.
Yeah, he's playing how Paul George is supposed to be playing.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably been the second best player in the last like 4 or 5 games for the Clippers overall. I mean, he had 29 points in game 2. He basically brought them back from the dead. He was hitting everything, but then at the same point, like, why is he having to take all these shots? I mean,
that's the other thing, And he's not like a playmaking guard. He's not going to give you like 10 assists a game. He's going to just score, and that's the issue. Is like you have just scores. Kawhi winds up becoming like your playmaker, which you don't want. You want him taking shots because he's got the best chance of making shots on this team out of everyone. So I don't know, it gets kind of difficult when you don't have like a true kind of like playmaking guard, when it goes back to like the value of a guy like Mike Conley or Chris Paul, or just like a playmaker on your team who can make everyone better. There's no one on this Clippers team that really makes other people around them better except maybe Kawhi. And you don't really want him to do that. You want him to score 40 points in a game. So it's tough.
You know what's crazy to me is, I mean, you say the making everything better aspect, right? Like, isn't that why they got Rajon Rondo? Rondo played 0 minutes in game 2.
Just a no-show. I don't know if he's not well, or I don't know what's going on with him. This is where he's supposed to shine, the playoff Rondo.
Right? This is what they got him for, the leadership, for the passing ability to make guys like PG and Kawhi get open looks. I mean, I didn't understand it. I mean, I know Reggie Jackson's hot, and good for Reggie Jackson. But I mean, what is going on? I mean, when they came back and took the lead in the fourth quarter with like 5-6 minutes left in the game, Kawhi Leonard didn't get a shot for the next 7 possessions.
Yeah.
How is that possible? While he was on the floor.
I don't get it. I don't know what I mean. Everyone kind of clowns on Coach Lou for pretty much being gifted rings for coaching those Cavaliers teams, and then going here to coach another MVP candidate. But like, the playoffs is time yet to make adjustments, but I feel like completely changing your rotation in that way just throws things out of whack. Like, Rondo is playing heavy minutes in these playoffs, like 20 minutes a game, almost every game, and then just not play him. I don't know if there was like an injury you didn't hear about or wasn't feeling well. I don't know, but it's odd for a guy who's giving them what they want is like a guy to kind of break down defenses and play good defense and help other players. So it's a strange choice. Luke Kennard should not have any minute. Luke Kennard should go to Rajon Rondo. It's so bizarre. I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, it's funny. It's like complete two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like we were talking about Bud, who's basically making no changes, and then you've got Lou, who, I mean, I think the issue is, you're making adjustments, but like you're almost over adjusting to the point where like the players you have on the court now have zero chemistry, right? Like they've not played together much. I mean, what are you going to do from here? And I think Rondo, even if he's not, I mean, I don't necessarily think he should be playing 25 minutes a game, but like he's so cerebral in nature that like he's got to have some minutes to like, or to break down defenses or do something. I mean, he's such an intelligent player that like it doesn't make sense to me. You literally acquired him for this reason, for this time.
This is why he's here. He's here like it was on the Lakers last year, is to help them get to the championship and win a championship. Like that's what he's been on the teams for the past like 5 years for. And to not play him is just so bizarre. I don't really understand it.
All right, so lastly, game 3 tonight, Jazz Clippers. Obviously, basically a do or die game for the Clippers here.
Yeah, they have to win this.
What do you think?
So, I guess no Conley again, I believe, right? I think he's still out. The tough one. I think if you're going to win a game in a series, I think it's the 2-0 game, the third game. I'll give the Clippers this one. I think they can win this one. I think the no Conley is going to actually catch up. I mean, they're playing super short rotations. Like it's tiring. And I don't think Kawhi is going to have as bad a night. I think Paul George will actually show up. I don't know how many games he'll show up, because I know he'll show up for maybe one game at least. Probably disappear for the other few. But yeah, I give the Clippers this one. I don't think they can take this series unless they make some serious adjustments. Or the Jazz just start missing shots. Like, obviously, they're not going to shoot 50% from 3 every game, but they've done it a lot of games. This, like, everyone keeps saying, like, oh, they can't do this, but it's been pretty sustainable pretty much this entire season. Like, they're just a team that does it. Like, every other 3 they shoot will go in, which is unbelievable. And it's something like you say, like, oh, a 3-point team could not win the finals because you can't rely on that. But, I mean, they're making a pretty good case for it right now, much like the Suns, where people are just really good at shooting threes now. Like, you can have guys who shoot, like, 6 threes a game and hit half of them and keep that up, which is honestly incredible. So, yeah, I've got the Clippers winning this next game, but I think the Jazz will take this series in 6. Maybe.
Okay, 6. No. I think, you know what the difference is, though? You remember how those Rockets teams, we had like 5 small ball and we're all shooting threes. But the difference with the Suns and the Jazz here is like you've got the interior presence still, right? Yeah. You've got a good ball handler, and then you've got everyone else surrounding who's just snipers. Yeah. And the difference between the Mavs and the Jazz from the last series for the Clippers is that, you know, you're not kicking out to like Finney Smith, who's like maybe will make a shot or 2. You're kicking it out to I mean, I love Phoenix, don't get me wrong. But I mean, you're kicking it out to Bogdanovich and Ingles for like 40+% from three,
Yeah.
right? Like, you don't want to, I mean, if those guys you can't double team Mitchell. The only thing I figured out is like the zone really worked in the second half for the Clippers. They got them back in the game,
Maybe
right?
that's something that we'll
Maybe
see
that's
how it
something to
plays out.
implement for game 3 for longer periods of time. I just think, you're still going, the Jazz atmosphere, the stadium. I mean, it was crazy, right? The fans fully packed. And now you're going back to Clippers where I believe until game 6, they still have cardboard cutouts. So in
Yeah.
LA. So,
Any fans that are going there are Lakers fans anyway who are bored.
exactly. And you've got like Steve Ballmer, who's like their biggest fan. And so I think, the Jazz might still have a chance. I think obviously if the Jazz take this game, they win the series in like 5, Jazz in 5.
Really.
But I don't know, man. I want to pick the Clippers. I feel like it should be Clippers in this game, but I don't know. I don't want to discount Donovan Mitchell. He's just been outstanding.
No, he's been
I
great.
don't know.
But
I'll take
I don't know.
Clippers in game 3 as well.
It's a tough one. Yeah. Because usually, I mean, the rules are not the soft rules has usually been is the best player in the series is usually the team that will win. And Kawhi Leonard should be the best player in this series, but he just hasn't been playing like it. So
Hasn't been.
if he doesn't play like it, then this Clippers team is not going to win. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. See if he remembers that he's one of the best players in the league and starts playing like it. And Paul George can really be that kind of number 2 because when they're on, that team is near unstoppable. So
I think to me it's like they go as Marcus Morris goes. When Marcus Morris is hot, oh my God, they're unstoppable. And when he's cold, like last game where he was like 1 for 8 or something from 3, then they lose every time. And he's so inconsistent. And it's crazy. And I know he shot like above 40% for the season from 3, and he's a good 3-point shooter, but he's been so inconsistent in the playoffs that it's just like, if he hits his open shots, they're up by like 10. And if he doesn't, then they're down like 12, and it's a whole different ball game. So let's see if he hits his shots and the impact of the Utah not supporting cast, because Gobert is going to get his little double, do his thing, and be good on defense and get 3 blocks, and that Mitchell's probably going to score 30 plus probably. So let's see what the rest of the people do, but I think it's going to be a good game. The first 2 games have both been pretty close. So let's see.
I think
what happens
this
in
is
LA.
probably our best, or one of our best series we have left. I think this has the potential to be the best one out of the last ones remaining. So hopefully we get a good competitive series because the rest of them aren't seeming like it the way they're trending. So hopefully, just happy we still got daily basketball. So I'm gonna enjoy that while we can.
Exactly. No, I think that brings us to the end of our pod for this week. Thank you guys for listening, and see you guys back here next week.